How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another patch discussion video. This is PipeTron. I will be your host this evening or morning, depending on where you are. These are the upcoming Disguiser, Framer, and Investigator changes. Let's jump right in. Number 1. Disguiser is being buffed heavily. So let's read this. Keeps existing functionality. Okay, so everything Disguiser currently has, they keep. Now, in addition to that, they're going to gain a special ability to disguise a player as another role the night they die. Okay, Disguiser will be able to choose any role from a unique UI menu to disguise the player as. Limit 1, maybe 2, so they haven't decided yet. The Disguiser will also learn the role of the dead player, and the player's last will shall appear empty. Okay, so their reasoning for this decision. Currently, the Disguiser needs to die to affect the graveyard with misinformation. That is true. This will allow the Disguiser to have an impact without having to die. Learning the role of the player they disguise will open up claim space for Mafia. Additionally, the Mafia will be able to disguise a dead town role as a Mafia member or a neutral role, which could easily confuse the town. Alrighty, so I was going to get into this. This is why these changes are very powerful, and this is why the buff, I would say it's pretty damn strong, and I would say definitely keep it at limit 1. Don't make it limit 2, it would be too overpowered. So picture this scenario. Let's say you have a Disguiser in-game, and let's say there's no spies in the game. So you kill off a townie, and you change that townie's role into a jester. So town thinks Mafia killed off the jester, right? And jesters don't normally keep wills. So it's not gonna necessarily be given away with the empty will that a Disguiser targeted them. So a jester's dead, they were actually a townie, Mafia know what their role was, and they steal it. They steal the role. What if they're the town protect, and they're the only town protect, and you've stolen it, and town thinks you're the town protect, and there's no lookouts in the game? Or what if, what's another role? Like the only town killing, and then you claim town killing, and town thinks you're the town killing. That's pretty damn overpowered. If there's no spies in it who see that the guy was visited twice and has an empty will, and he's jester, it's gonna confuse people, right? It's gonna confuse people, and this is the thing. Now, I know some people are gonna come out and be like, oh, so every time Mafia kill off a jester, people are gonna assume that it's guaranteed Disguiser game, right? And they should treat it as a clean. However, what if the Mafia really did kill off a jester, right? There's no way of knowing. What happens then? That's pretty funny. Unless it's a witch game and someone gets witched and confirms that it's a Disguiser game and then treats it as though the player's being cleaned. They're just gonna have to assume that there is still a chance it really was a jest. So what happens then? It's very confusing. So I would say very good buff. Maybe buff it to 2 later on when people get more used to it, but at the start, keep it at 1. I would say relatively good buff, makes Disguiser more interesting. It really sucks that, you know, you have to die in order to have any use in the game. So good change. Number 2, Framer. Okay. Frames will now last until a sheriff or investigator checks the frame target. Framer can now frame his own teammate, making them appear not suspicious to the sheriff and as a framer to the investigator. Okay. Now this is pretty damn powerful, and I really like this buff. And we've been asking for this buff for a very long time. So the reasoning for this is, currently the framer has to be very skilled or very lucky to frame the same target as the sheriff or invest, very true. Especially on the first few nights, very true. Where there's 10 plus people, having frames persist beyond one night will boost the power of the framer significantly. Being able to choose their own Mafia teammates has obvious advantages, very true. But one of the biggest will be now that it can confuse the spy. Spy will not be able to assume that everyone the Mafia visits is non-Mafia anymore. Perfect change, dude. Perfect change. This is what Framer should have been from the beginning. This is what Framer is all about. We've been asking for this change for like 2 years. For many years we've been asking for it, or something like it, and it's here. So, Framer is now pretty damn strong. You can do many different things now. Let's say there's a game with no spy and 4 sheriffs, 4 TIs, you know, even 3. 3 TIs, and you're going around framing everyone, and the frame sticks? Dude, they're gonna be finding everyone as evil. If they find you, you can be like, well, I was framed, right? How are they gonna pick? It's gonna be so hard. Let's say there is a spy in the game. Okay, let's just visit one of our own Mafia members, unframe them, and what's the spy gonna do? The spy can't say anymore that, you know, oh, this guy was visited, not a Mafia. Not true anymore. So the spy kind of gets nerfed. Even if there's just a spy in the game and you don't necessarily unframe your own Mafia, your visits, it's not going to be a guarantee anymore. It's not going to be a guarantee. So the pure fact that Framer is now buffed like this, anytime there's a spy in the game, they won't have that peace of mind that whoever was visited is somehow like not Mafia. There's always going to be doubt. What also initially comes to my mind is, imagine like you're a Framer and one of your Mafia members aren't playing too well, right? Let's say someone in the Mafia is just being inactive, passive, not voting, and you go like, shit, you know, this guy's going to be bloody checked. A TI is definitely going to check him, especially in ranked. Like, people pay attention to that, right? You know your Mafia is going to be checked. You go ahead and unframe them. They come up as not suspicious. And then what happens? Like, your Mafia goes free and sneaks under the radar. If they come up as Framer to the invest, they can just claim framed. So I would say pretty damn powerful. A welcome change. And, okay. Investigator. So, Investigator is getting kind of reworked. They're getting kind of reworked here. Here's what they say. So you may be wondering why we are looking to change the Investigator, as it's not a role many people have issues with. I know, it's really not. Allow me to explain. Okay, sure thing. Investigator has 2 main issues we are looking to address. Number 1. Great consideration has to be taken every role list that is created to ensure that there is claim space for evils against the invest. This limits role list design potential and changes the strength of the invest depending on the role list. That is true. Having to design our role list around one role in the game isn't great and has been on our list to try and improve for a long time now. Alrighty? Reason 2. Evils are typically forced to fake claim one of the potential roles on the investigator's feedback or risk being outed by an invest. Okay, so, obviously that's not true. It's common practice to claim Vigilante as Godfather. It's common practice to claim, you know, anything as anything. You don't have to claim Escort as Consort. You don't have to claim Lookout as Forger. You don't have to claim Doc as Serial Killer. You don't have to do those things. So I do disagree with that reasoning. However, for newer players, okay, cool. However, I will say this. Generally, let's say I'm the Godfather, right? And I fake claim Vigilante. But I haven't said it publicly yet. I just have a fake Vigilante will. I will still have a BG will ready, just in case. So maybe they're referring to that. Like, they don't want people to, like, when they do get checked, they get limited. What's the role? Let's say I'm a blackmailer, right? And I get checked. I have to claim spy now, pretty much. So maybe they're referring to that. You should have a fake spy will anyway, but you don't necessarily have to be claiming spy as a blackmailer. You just don't. So here are the changes. The investigator gathers more information about their target each night. After 2 nights, they will learn the role of their target. This information is still affected by frames, hexes, and dowsers. It will show Framer, Hex Master, or Arsonist in those situations, okay? Investigator does not have to visit the same target consecutively to learn their role. They can choose a different target each night and have previous roles at 50% discovery, and then choose to check any of their previous targets. Okay, so this is what they've essentially done. They've changed the Investigator into a weaker version of the consig, pretty much a slower and stupider version of the consig, because instead of taking 1 day to find someone's role, it's going to take them 2 days. So I guess, yeah, it's a consig with 80 IQ. I would say this. Some people I've already read don't like this change because they say it's kind of overpowered for a confirmed townie to 100% confirm someone else, which is true. However, confirming yourself as an investigator is not always the easiest thing. We have to keep in mind that Mafia and Evils are going to be fake claiming this too, right? It's going to be so much easier to fake claim. So I wouldn't say it's that overpowered. You can pretend to confirm and check your own Mafias, and if another townie like comes out accusing you, you can just call them evil and be like, oh, you're full of shit, right? Also, we have to keep in mind 2 nights is actually a lot of time. 2 nights is very long. I've already told you guys, the reason why town needs to be aggressive, especially in serial killer games, and vote people for roles and stuff and get claims and get information, is because the game can actually be lost by day 3 if no evils die. Like, the game starts off with 6 evils and 9 townies. Let's say that the serial killer and the Mafia both kill off a townie each, you now have 7 townies against 6 evils, right? Let's say no one gets a lynch because townie's passive and the investigator has checked one of the Mafia, right? But they only have 50% discovery, so they can't really say anything. The next night, if the jailer fails to lynch anyone, if the investigator doesn't shoot anyone, if the serial killer doesn't kill off a Mafia and 2 more townies die, the game's over anyway, and who cares if the investigator found an evil? Who cares? It's over. What I will say is this, 50% discovery, this right here, this is kind of vague, right? What does 50% discovery mean? Does it mean that when you check someone, it says like, oh, 50% loading, and you don't get any info? Or does it say like, for example, if you're an investigator that checked their consig, does it say like, your target has investigative capabilities? So you can narrow down, okay, maybe sheriff, maybe lookout, maybe invest, maybe consig, maybe spy. And you just know at the very least it's a TI, but you don't necessarily know like that's the information you got. So is that what 50% discovery means, or is 50% discovery just straight up you get nothing and it just says 50%? I would assume it's the second one, which is, and you get told like, oh, your target has killing capabilities, your target has investigative capabilities, like stuff like that. Obviously, once you get that information, you should be posting it as a TI, and it is leads. Like, it is a lead. It is info that town can use. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this change. I'm not sure what to think about it. Definitely share your opinions on this one. What do you think? I feel like most people aren't happy with this. I'm going to reserve judgment for now, because we can always speculate how these changes will be in theory, but we don't know how it will be in practice until we see it. So I reserve judgment until I see it in game. I'm not sure what to think about it. Also, I just want to highlight this. Like, they said this. Also, evil roles need to have the investigator's feedback memorized or have a cheat sheet. This is very unfriendly for new players, right? Come on, man. Like, this game should have a bit of a learning curve. It should have a bit of a difficulty curve. There are so many different games I can use as examples. Like, take League of Legends, for example, right? That game has like 150 plus champions in it, and you need to memorize all of their abilities, all of their cooldowns, and pretty much everything the champion does in order to play against it effectively. That's the learning curve of the game. If you want to get better at the game, that's what you need to do. So why can't Town of Salem have a little bit of memorization, a little bit of, learning, where people just, they have to memorize some shit, right? Why can't Town of Salem have that? I know it's like unfriendly, but give the game a bit of difficulty. Give the game a bit of a learning curve. But then again, who am I? It's not like I'm a game designer. Just my opinion. So those are the changes. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Subscribe for more. I'll see you all in the next one.